I know it's been a while, but I've been busy lately, and my YouTube philosophy is changing. I'm planning to put more time into videos and release them when I'm satisfied with them, and not try to rush them out. Anyway, I'd like to share my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch. So let's roll the video and I'll comment a bit on what I think of this teaser. Because it's something. Yeah, this is gonna be all of us come March of next year. Only we'll be using the Wii U. Or at least I will, because I want that map. Dog blocked. Yeah, because if I'm seeing the sunrise, I want to be playing my Nintendo Switch. Ooh, so this is like a... No, this guy looks like he's not employed. She doesn't look employed either. Why is this guy flying? That looks really generic. I like how a lot of these people are decorating their house, though. That is not going to give you a bit of motion sickness. Somehow I'm not thinking that basketball players are the main Nintendo audience. Or that they would stop playing their basketball to play virtual basketball. That's just weird. If I was a girl, that is totally how I would dress. To sit at home all day and play Mario. She looks exactly like it would be if I was a woman staying home playing Mario all day. And people are not going to be crowding around this thing, the 6-inch screen, to play multiplayer. That's not happening, Nintendo. Splatoon. Woohoo, Splatoon. Because I care. Is this trailer making anyone else want Domino's? Well, I really don't want Domino's because it's gross. So that was Bethesda? So is that like Fallout Origins or something? So you want my honest opinion, barring the ridiculous scenarios of the teaser? Unlike the rest of the internet who wants to freaking deflower the audio jack, I think it looks okay and I like the concept, but I'm not in yet. Nintendo has shown a good concept, but hasn't demonstrated they know how to execute this, or if it will have all the features it absolutely has to have to interest me, like 3D display, good battery life, and compatibility with the gamepad. They didn't even show any games that interest me, but I'm still probably going to end up with one regardless. Where else am I going to play handheld marketed games with this replacing the 3DS, the Vita? Which it will be nice to be able to play portable designed games on my TV, and to play console games in waiting rooms or when somebody kidnaps me via carpooling for 6 additional hours than we discussed. I really hope it has a cigarette adapter, or even a USB adapter, because I doubt 6 hours of continuous play will be possible. Now you may be saying, "Hey Adam, it's got no mobile phone aspect." But I'm not convinced. Looking at the dev list, notice there's Gung Ho and DNA. Gung Ho having had a few games on consoles, but is known to the general public as only the creator of Puzzles and Dragons, which could just mean another crossover is happening. DNA though is the king of quality mobile games and Nintendo's mobile partner. What would DNA be doing besides having Miitomo, Mario Run, and Fire Emblem Mobile be playable? DNA has also dabbled in developing mobile networks, so maybe that's what they are doing. I'm sure all of us would like to be able to play online anywhere. Their involvement, as far as I can predict, all leads to phone-like aspects, and I still stand by there being no reason not to have that option. Finally, I'd like to talk about the games we know are coming and predict the kind of games we are probably getting. You know, a nice place where everything is all in one place. Of course, we have the ones shown, like Breath of the Wild, which I want to play on the Wii U because having a map on the gamepad is really appealing, and I really wouldn't want to play it for 30 minutes at a time. Then you have Splatoon 1.1, Mario Kart 8.5, or Mario Kart in base, Super Mario switching the thermostat, Basketball 17, and generic Nightman, which I'm told is Skyrim. But it still looks like generic Nightman thing. Which, if I'm even partially representative of the average Nintendo consumer, I don't think that was the game to choose to appeal to the Nintendo fanbase. But hey, everyone besides Nintendo fans thinks the Switch is the best thing ever. So maybe it is good for them, which if so, I'm glad it is confirmed. Don't you dare to try to back out of this, Bethesda. We will remember. There were a few other confirmed games though, like Sonic 17, an arcade car racing game called Rise, Race the Future, Just Dance, and at least one Dragon Quest. And Beyond Good and Evil 2 is heavily rumored, and we have a Game Freak developed Pokemon game coming to Switch soon, and the rumored Smash Bros. Board at launch. But then we have this long list of confirmed developers. 505 Games is known for Terraria and Rocket League, both of which could benefit greatly from the multiplayer focus of the Switch, allowing groups to assemble and play together or online. They are also known for their Cooking Mama series, and I would expect all three of those IPs will come to Switch one day. Arc System Works is best known for having their hands in indie fighting games like Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear, meaning such games are likely. Atlus likely means the sequels to all their Weeby handheld games on 3DS will be on Switch, and could potentially mean Shin Megami Tensei games will also come to Nintendo. Namco's presence makes me suspect the next few Tales games will be released on the Switch, considering RPGs tend to do extremely well on Nintendo hardware. But Tekken and Soul Calibur games are also likely. I'm sure crappy Pac-Man cash-ins are also a guarantee. The Bandai side could indicate the next few Weeby anime games will come to Switch. In addition to generic Skyrim, Bethesda could bring a Fallout game over, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say that would fit better on Nintendo than a game starring such a generic-looking knight wandering a generic muted fantasy world. Hopefully we get both though. I really don't mean to be crapping on Skyrim. Capcom will probably port over Street Fighter V, only as what could be considered a complete game. They might also put a Resident Evil game on there just because it seems like that's what they like doing. I'd also expect the next Versus Capcom will be on Switch, and I feel confident, guaranteeing you will see Phoenix Wright switching things up on Switch. I wish I could suggest Epic Games will revive Jazz Jackrabbit and One Must Fall because that would be awesome, but their contribution will likely only be their engines. Though maybe one of their side projects will end up on Switch. From Software has made barely any games besides ones in the Dark Souls franchise, so barring a new IP, that is what you're going to see. Some like Game Trust, which is GameStop's attempt to publish video games, could end up being anything. Indie Creates could indicate indie games they're developing, like Shantae, Mighty No. 9, and Bloodstained will see Switch ports, or that Gunfold 3 or Gunfold 1 and 2 HD Edition is in development and will be on Switch. Tecmo could mean many things, including the possibility of a new Fatal Frame, or gore and titties. Konami, I expect Metal Gear Survive and the crappiest Bomberman battle mode just to remind us they know they have him, and they want to break our hearts. That or a virtual version of their erotic violence pachinko machine. Level 5 is pretty much guaranteeing Japan will get a Yokai Watch. Probably all America will get is Professor Layton and maybe Fantasy Life, because Yokai Watch kind of bombed in the West. That's understating it. Marvelous, formerly Xseed, is a frequent publisher of games that are almost Japan only, so they will keep your non-Atlas Weeby games coming. Maximum Games frequently publishes casual and shovelware games, occasionally more sophisticated games, but a lot of stuff with casual appeal, so they will keep your parents and grandparents playing their Switch everywhere instead of playing Candy Crush all day. This will probably make Switch a decent success. Hopefully it won't be at the expense of great games like with the Wii though. NIS is another key part of getting Weeby games on the 3DS. Although NIS has favored the Vita much more than Nintendo. Time will tell if the Switch will switch things around and have Disgaea and other super niche games change ships. Platinum Games could be anything. Maybe they have a new Bayonetta. They jump from project to project too much. Maybe Nintendo thinks the Wii was the problem with Star Fox and it is going to be ported. Sure, Sonic 17 covers Sega, but Nintendo and Sega are buddies. Expect a zillion more Sonic and Mario games and a bunch of other IPs. Spike Chunsoft is responsible for Mystery Dungeon and Fossil Fighters. They may squeeze out a Fossil Fighters with more cars and more cringy music, but expect a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Now let's talk a bit about Silicon Studio and what they are likely doing because it relates to Square. The biggest game Silicon Studio has been involved with was Bravely Default, a co-production with Square. Expect Bravely 3rd in the next couple years. It's probably in development. You may get a 3DS port down squeezed out, but it's going to be a Switch game. This is probably a guarantee considering the director has gone on record he wants Bravely to become an annual franchise. Which may not be a good thing, honestly. Now Square proper, they are bringing at least one Dragon Quest. But that's Dragon Quest. Ask anybody on the street if they've heard of Dragon Quest, and then ask if they've heard of Final Fantasy. I would be surprised, like most, if the 7 remake isn't a Switch game, especially considering if you have an RPG you really wanted on Nintendo. Heck, 15 may even be on Switch. And if those games sell well, all of Square's RPGs stand a good chance of being on Switch. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Switch gets the new Deus Ex. Take-Two owns Rockstar, which could mean we could see a Grand Theft Auto or BioShock on the Switch. TT means we are probably getting another LEGO game. WB owns TT, so they could still just indicate the LEGO game, or it could also mean a Batman game is coming. Of course, we should also expect various Nintendo subsidy games like Xenoblade XX, which is another reason it is inevitable I'll end up with one of these. This being said, if these developers release games and deem their returns as not being enough, they won't keep making games for the Switch. If the weebs just switch to the Vita and eventually get a Switch, there may not be any weeb games left for them.